some of the apps we've done so far, you'll see from this that it's quite a strong focus on tourism and in particular heritage. So what we want to do is cover a couple of those projects in a bit more detail. Before we get into that, just a quick point on Welsh language. All of our apps have been bilingual. We do have the issue about slides, but what we tend to do is do English and Welsh apps. And one of the reasons we've put the effort into doing those is recognising that a significant number of tourists within Wales are from actually in Wales itself. So we focus on the Alice project first, which is one that's due to be released within the next month. This is a project we were commissioned to do to help raise awareness of the link between Llandudno and the Alice stories, Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, which, to be perfectly honest, before we saw the brief of the project, we weren't aware of. It's coming up on the 150th anniversary of the publication of the books, and the town and particularly people within the town are very, very keen to raise awareness and to bring more people into the town. So what we've done with this app, working with them in a huge amount of detail, storyboarding, etc., is to do a trail that goes around the town and gives you snippets of the story. But what we've done, the facts are very dry. You know, Alice Liddell visited the town in 1861, she stayed at this hotel, she went to this place, she went to that place. It's not going to keep anybody's attention. So what we did was do a script to go along with characters that we created, so Mad Hatter, March Hare, Alice, etc. And you go along the trail and find out a bit more as you go and enter into an adventure. You don't know where the trail is taking you, you don't even know what the next point is, so there's that sense of adventure, but it deliberately takes you through areas of the town that didn't previously have much footfall, areas that do tend to have a lot of businesses in them, cafes, shops, etc., but were suffering. So it's partly to help, but A, raise awareness of the town and the connections, but also to help the businesses within the town.
The hurrier I get, the behinder I am. And I have an excellent idea. Let's change the subject. Turning sea of genius, intelligent imagination. We'll never leave. We are doomed to stay here forever. Ah, I have an excellent idea. Let's change the subject.
So that gives you a rough idea. So what we've done with this, I think there's 4 videos in the sequence of 21. The rest of it is actually 3D AR, which gives you, as a visitor then, an opportunity to have your picture taken with any of the characters. This is a trip by a team from Visit Wales to see how exactly the app was coming along and how it was working.
Here what we're doing is we're using the actual wooden models that are in an area known as Happy Valley to act as trigger points. Part of the reason for that is in Happy Valley there's quite a lot of tree coverage, and that disrupts the GPS signal a little bit, so you don't get quite accurate positioning. We also have very sophisticated image recognition technology that recognises the chair, in this case it's the teacher's chair, and that then puts the three-dimensional character, the animated model, in the chair, so he looks like he's sat there. And in fact there's nothing there at all, and as you see here, this is the part of the Visit Wales team having their photo taken around the character, And when this is running live, the Mad Hatter is actually telling you a story. It's giving you some of the interpretation in a very fun way. As you can just see at the bottom of the screen there, there's some little toastable seats. They're intended for children to sit on. Part of the focus group testing we did for the app, we brought along some families, and the families had the children sat there. And when the parent was holding up the iPad to the chair, the little kid was running behind the iPad because he couldn't quite grasp the fact that there was something in the chair and then there wasn't something in the chair. So it was quite fun to watch that.
Looking at the iPad, then looking at the chair, and then looking back at the iPad again. It was brilliant. But back on the question about age groups, the focus group testing we did with this, we had, the youngest was 2,
Yes.
and very able on an iPad. She was explaining to her grandmother how to use it, through to 80.
Yeah.
And because of the way I think possibly it's been scripted, there's the kind of humour in there that appeals to kids, but then the other points that go totally over the kids' heads, but really appeal to the humorous side of the adults, whilst they're still learning about it. So that's kind of more recent history. Other project we worked on quite recently was Roads in Carmarthenshire. So this is a site just outside Trecastle, where there are remains of a marching camp and a fortlet. We researched this project before we started it, and honestly, if you don't really know what to look for, it just looks like a few bumps and lumps on the top of the hill, and we at one point thought we were probably on top of the wrong hill because we just couldn't find it. So what we did here is, it's partly a trail to get people to the right point, but also used map overlays based on the point you were this morning about having access to maps. There is no signal coverage in this area, and I think we seem to be very, very good at finding the locations that are going to have no signal coverage, because 90% of our projects have had that. So we've developed a technique of doing map overlays, so even if you don't have signal coverage, you can still see a map, and you can still see yourself as Blue Pin or the yellow man on the map, and know where you are in relation to everything. So what we were able to do here was recreate the outline of the marching camp, and you can position yourself on it, and it's amazing. As soon as you do that, you suddenly see the ramparts round about falling away from you, and it's something you don't see until you actually have it pointed out to you that way. And also as part of that, as you saw in the initial trailer, recreated the marching camp and the fortlets as videos, so you can stand there and see them appear out of the ground, populated with the Romans that would have been there at that time. And again, we did audio with this, which was telling the story from the perspective of Rory, a modern day travel guide, who suddenly meets Primus, a 2,000-year-old Roman, and they have debates as they're going around, and each other is putting the other right in various respects. And going back to the IKEA thing, we actually, the fortlet was done in IKEA form. It was built in Llandemfrey, put onto carts and brought along there, and then established quite quickly. So again, we used the IKEA joke on that one.
To give you an idea of the scale of the marching camp, there would have been 5,000 Romans, and they would have assembled the camp. The marching camp was basically a campsite, an overnight campsite. They would come along and they would assemble it in 3 hours, and they would spend the night, and then they would remove it the following morning. Clearly they weren't very good at tidying up after themselves, because they actually left behind the ramparts that they had dug and all the other archaeology that is still there today. And that's why we're able to actually find the outline of the marching camp and reconstruct it on the map so that you can see it. And if you see that, it's not very clear on the screen, there's a line of palisades going down the side there. That would actually be the actual camp boundary. They had some other clever tricks to sort of deal with invaders. They had the entrance had something called clavicula, which is like a sort of a U-shaped entrance, and it was designed to drive the invader around to the left. And because they'd be carrying their shield in their left hand, they'd leave their right hand side exposed for attack. So they had all other nasty little tricks, little booby traps, little things called caltrops, which were like spikes that would embed in your feet, and it doubled the pain when you tried to remove it.
I think a lot of those facts are what came out of detailed discussions we had with experts in the area. and we spent a lot of time working with a senior lecturer at Cardiff University, gathering all of the facts, putting them into a script, then running that past her, plus all of the recreations of the marching camp and the fallen, to make sure it was absolutely spot on accurate. And we were absolutely delighted. This had to go through the CADU process when we submitted it. They didn't change a single thing, so it's brilliant. The other aspect of this was commissioned by Brecon Beacons National Park. And one thing they wanted to know is how many people are visiting the site. And at the moment, well, prior to that, they didn't have a clue. There was no way on earth you could stick a people counter there, partly because you can arrive there from so many different directions, and it just is in the middle of nowhere. So what we did with this is incorporate functionality that enables us to know how many devices visit the site. You can't say for sure how many people are associated with each device. You can assume maybe 2 people per device, but at least that gives them a lot more information than they previously had. And we're incorporating that functionality into quite a few other apps as we move forward, which seems to be exceptionally helpful. The coast. I wanted to cover this one for 2 reasons. Partly because the brief from Andrew is give them something they can use for free. Okay. As you probably guessed, animations don't come very cheap, so doing an animation for free is not really an option. But one of the apps that is going to be released within the next month is the latest official version of the Wales Coast app. This was released last year quietly, releasing unofficially, for us to gather more information because we knew there were gaps in the information that we had. To give a summary, it basically provides information about the 150 plus beaches there are around the Welsh coast and the 870 miles of the coast path. And it's quite detailed information. So for instance, if you want to find a sandy beach that provides good surfing facilities and has toilets and has cafes, you can tick those relevant boxes. It will come up with a list of beaches that match that criteria. If you then also want to make sure that as well as having a beach with those facilities, you want to go walking on the path, but you don't really want a steep walk, so you want it to be just a nice gentle gradient or an intermediate gradient, and you want it to be about 4 miles long, then you can search for that as well. So it is really quite powerful. This is going to be launched within the next month, as I mentioned, and I think from a free perspective, one of the reasons behind this was to raise awareness of what is available on the coast. One of the reactions we've had from some of the businesses we've been talking to is that they want to be putting details of it in their hotelier, in emails they send out confirming bookings to visitors that are coming. We've also had some cards made, so restaurants, shops, etc. are keen to have those available for people to be made aware of it. The idea being that once you realise how much there is to do, you're far more likely to stay a lot longer, even stay an extra day so you can do that extra bit of the park, etc. So what we can provide, if you're interested, is we can take your details, let you have a stack of the cards, give you the link to the app, and also artwork that if you want to, you can put on any of your marketing material, your websites, on the footer of your emails, whatever. So if you are interested, please just let me know afterwards and we'll sort that out for you. And what we should also introduce is the next phase of the development of the Coast app is now adding augmented reality in as well to help tell some of the probably not so well-known stories around the coast. And to help do this, we've created a dragon character. We're calling him Derek, and when he does become launched, you'll see why. But the idea is he can be used in all sorts of promotional material, and potentially, as part of these, we may provide the ability that you can launch the dragon through these. What we're thinking with this as well is, as part of the Alice thing, you can take photographs, and we'll show that quickly now. The local organisation could then run monthly competitions for the best photograph with an Alice character and offer prizes on the back of that. What we're beginning to think is we could do something similar with a Derek character. Okay, so what we'd like to show you now is the AR in action. So this is the Alice work. Which one do you want to show? Okay. So you saw the teacher's chair in the video just now. This is it in action.
this is the teacher's chair animation that you saw with colleagues from Visit Wales.
You can see my hand coming into it, and it's 3D, so you don't have to be stood in any one position. As long as you can see the chair, you can move around. So you can actually take pictures from all sorts of different angles.